Hi, you're listening to Beyond Profits, a podcast by 117 Capital, where we explore the principles, ethics, and impact behind truly sustainable business. In a world driven by profit margins, we are shifting the conversation, diving into value-based leadership, non-interest finance, and the evolving role of ethical investing. Rooted in the spirit of Islamic finance, Beyond Profits is where ethics meets finance, where purpose meets performance, and where values drive ventures. Each episode, we engage with leading voices across various industries, discussing how non-interest finance principles and frameworks are reshaping sustainable business growth, empowering communities, and redefining wealth. Whether you are an entrepreneur, investor, or a future leader, this space is for you. Because at 117 Capital, we believe that profits is just the beginning. The true measure of success lies in what we build beyond profits.
They say building wealth is hard, but preserving it is even harder. And today we're here to discuss how to build, preserve, and ensure that your wealth lives to the future generations. Together with us is the Executive Director of 117 Capital, Mr. Abdullahi Umar, and a seasoned business expert, someone who's going to be able to dissect this matter for us, being that he has dealt with a lot of high net worth individuals and he has helped people build wealth from scratch to the top. So thank you very much, Mr. Abdullahi Umar, for gracing our podcast, Beyond Profits. First thing I'm going to ask directly is, what do you think is more difficult, building wealth or preserving it?
Thank you very much. Firstly, for the opportunity to participate in this, and building wealth as well as preserving it, both of them are difficult, but at the same time, they require different disciplines. And what I mean is that when you're growing the wealth, you take certain decisions that allow you to get a good return on investment decisions. Preserving it requires you to have the discipline of managing lifestyle, managing certain decisions that would cause you to consume the wealth or the monies that you have generated over time. So one may think that it's a difficult thing to have it and not use it than when you're in the process of growing it. So growing it might be considered a bit easier than preserving it because you're met with a lot of things that want to take it away from you. Inflation is one of them. So I think preserving it could be a bit more challenging than growing it.
Okay. If we say preserving it is a little bit more challenging than growing it, it doesn't make growing any easier anyway.
No, it doesn't.
When it comes to growing wealth, I've seen a lot of top business people speak they speak in dollars and they say getting to the first $1 million, some say $5 million. They say it's easy alone with your hustle. But once you get to a $5 million cap, going above it requires certain systems for you to be able to hit certain amounts of money. So how true is this from your own experience?
First and foremost, I'd like to speak in Naira terms,
yes.
Just so that it makes it easier for all of us to appreciate the conversation. Secondly, I want to disabuse our minds from the understanding of the term wealth. Wealth essentially just means abundance. What we're speaking to right now is financial wealth.
Well, yes.
Then it's important for us to make a distinction between being rich and being wealthy financially. Rich implies you have high income. Wealthy implies that you've been able to achieve a sustainable richness. So your riches are sustainable. You've taken your level of being rich, you have invested, you now have income that is able to last a much longer time sustainably. So that is now being wealthy. And it's a mental position. So being wealthy is all in the mind. And you have to start by being decisive about how you take decisions and how you apply your money because it is growing. The market or people are divided into stratas. So they say there's the mass affluent, those who maybe would have maybe from 0 naira to as much as 100 million naira, and it's anywhere in between. It doesn't matter where you're starting from. It's that you identify where you are. Then you have the affluent, which is now either considered middle class or so, and maybe you have a net worth of over 100 million to maybe 500 million naira going upwards. And then you have high net worth individuals who are considered to be people who have assets and net worth of above maybe 1 billion, 2 billion, and all. And even with high net worth, there's what they refer to as very high net worth,
ultra,
and ultra high net worth, and the list it goes on that way. So I think importantly is us understanding that wealth creation is a mindset, and you can start from any level, but you just need to recognize where you are and then use the tools available to now grow that wealth, as well as try to preserve it over a period of time. Because sometimes we have the challenge of people saying, oh, I don't have enough to embark on this process. But you can work towards stabilizing yourself in order for you to now take certain decisions that will help you grow your wealth.
yes.
What was the question again?
The question was, when it comes to...
You said something about $1 million, getting to the
Yes.
first million is easy.
Yes.
Then when you're now moving from there, what do you need to do?
Yes.
It's almost like in reverse. Getting to the first million is hard. But when you hit the first billion, then maybe it becomes a bit easier. And it becomes easier when you apply the tools to now grow it further. So when you're getting to the first million, there's a lot of hustle that goes into it, and personal activity. Let's say not even the first million, let's say the first 10 million or first 1 million naira that you get to, whatever strata you find yourself, that's hard. When you get there, then you now need to step back and start to say, how do you sustain? And when you now say, how do you sustain? That's when you now start thinking about what type of lifestyle do you have, and are you changing your lifestyle based off of how your wealth or your receivables are increasing. So I earn 100,000 naira now, and when I start to earn 500,000, I change my walk. The type of clothes I wear, I change it, or I still maintain that moderate lifestyle and then still work on building and growing this pot of resources that I have. So I would say that getting to the first marker is challenging. It's growing from there that is slightly easier, but then comes with the need for a lot of discipline tied to it. So that is from my experience.
Okay, yeah, I agreed as well. I've heard both ends. The first end says working to the first marker is going to be hard, that you're going to hustle a lot, but so the English rather is you cannot hustle yourself above a certain marker rather.
Mm-hmm.
So you cannot hustle yourself above a certain marker, because you as a one-man army can hustle yourself into 100 million, even a 200 million, but you get to a certain level that as an individual without structures put in place, you cannot hustle yourself beyond that amount of money. So that is that point. And then the point of which you just raised, which a lot of other wealth advisors and businessmen have mentioned, is it's hard to work to the first marker, but once you reach that first marker, you have the tools that will make you to be able to deploy funds and network to aid you to move above. So both ends have its perks in terms of what they're trying to push in terms of knowledge. The next question I want to ask is, how important is roping in family from the beginning? Or is there a certain stage that you reach in your wealth building that you now have to rope in your family into the know-how of what is going on in terms of the financial growth of you as an individual and what you're doing for the family?
Okay, so I would say there is the concept of family wealth. And with the concept of family wealth, I like to look at it from, it's not just financial. So there's the human capital side of things, and there's an intellectual capital side of things, and then you now come with the financial side of things. This has to do with family wealth. And you're preserving more than just financial capital. Most of what we do as human beings is that we try to leave a legacy. And leaving a legacy might just be my name. What do I want to be known for? What do I want to leave behind? It might be my family stories, it might be the things we've been through, it might be the institutions we've developed or built over the years, and we want to preserve that. That is the wealth that we have. It could be art in our house, and that's what we want to preserve. So the human capital is the side of how much do I know? What skills do I have? What skills do my family members have? Intellectual capacity speaks to ideas. What ideas, what innovations do we have? What intellectual property do we have that we need to safeguard? Because that equally is wealth. Then the financial capital. So I would say that involving family into the whole concept of wealth, of family wealth, looking at it from that lens, it has to be a deliberate decision. There may not be a right time. I would say as early as possible, but then there has to be the deliberate um, tutoring of family members at different levels so that there is an understanding of how things work and the roles that people need to play in the whole scope of family wealth, because everybody has a role. It's no longer a one person journey, it's now a collective. So everybody has a responsibility. It comes up with things around governance structure, where who's supposed to do what, at what time are you supposed to do it, how do we leverage trustees, either individual trustees or corporate trustees? How do we ensure that investments that are being made on behalf of the family are the right type of investments and they meet our needs, short, medium, and long term? This further breaks down into, annual budgeting, the financial literacy that is required, financial intelligence that is required, and getting the support of wealth management advisors or wealth management experts that could guide on certain decisions, and equally involving trustees that could help in creating the governance structure around family so that preservation can be better and it could be a more participatory process. Nigeria, as our own context, we have several families that you would find they are considered to be wealthy, but then maybe it doesn't cross a generation. And unfortunately, it may be that the family was not onboarded early enough to understand what role they were supposed to play in it, and at no fault of theirs either. And then there was not a great opportunity. They didn't have the great opportunity of balancing certain expectations or managing certain lifestyles in a way that was sustainable. So that in itself kind of caused the depletion of resources the moment the breadwinner in that family is no more. So with wealth management and trying to see how you can pull family into it, I I think in our time now, we have to have a better governance structure. I tell people that our parents had a better structure. Those that grew up in our villages and all, it was really a family affair. Anything that was going on was really family. Whether we say it was out of farming, that's why we had plenty uncles and aunties and all of that, and they needed the manual labor to do it. But what happened was they always ate together, they always schooled together, they always did things together. So growing up, there was that bond of connection. Right now, we are in an era of individualism, where those cultural ties are no longer as strong as they used to be. So we need to devise a better means of keeping family together in a way that is deliberate, and then conversations can be held in a way that everybody is able to live, I think, happily, if that's a way I can define it.
Now, you mentioned governance structures having trusts. Brief scenarios of two individuals trying to build wealth. One trying to build it on, trying to manage wealth and book family into wealth. One trying to do it their own way, by themselves, without any structures, just navigate whatever way we can navigate, and the other one trying to move with a certain structure. Because the concern here is some individuals at a certain level of richness currently would feel like, if I come and set up a trust and I have a trustee, these guys will charge something, and any other party coming in will charge something. Let me just do my thing myself and nobody charges me anything. So what can be the pros and cons of these two approaches to building lasting wealth and legacy?
I think what is important to acknowledge from the beginning is how far out are we planning for. So if I'm planning for the next 50 years or 100 years, I don't think I'll be alive in another 100 years. Yeah. So what type of system can I put in place that would increase the chances of the institution that I've set up to exist 100 years from now? And if I'm doing it alone, I have the commitment as an individual to want to do it. To what degree does my spouse or my sibling share the same drive or commitment? And how do we ensure that legacy continues? How am I able to transfer that to my child so that there is continuity?
Yeah.
If I'm unable to do that in an effective manner, then it may not last as long. It's not that it will not work. It may not last as long. I think leveraging institutions or individual trustees helps in preserving it longer, because it helps manage certain emotions. Because you that creates the wealth, trust me that the second generation may have a different view. If you're not careful, they will have a false sense of entitlement, because they will think this wealth isn't going anywhere and it was made for them to spend anyways. So there's no guidelines around how it should be utilized, no guidelines on how it should be further grown. In fact, some researches around the world suggest that certain trusts are not helping the economy, because once it gets to a certain level, the level of risk that is taken on those trusts are minimized significantly. So it doesn't provide rooms for innovation and taking risks and all of that for growth. Is that it has hit a point of stability. But in the original founders of that wealth, the creators of those wealths, you find that in most cases, they took a lot of risks.
Yeah.
They took a lot of risks, they took a lot of chances, and that's how they were able to grow. So if that momentum of the originator continues along the chain, it is suggested that it's going to continue, it's going to grow even larger. And that's what you want to try and put as part of the requirements for those whom you are handing down certain privileges to, that they contribute to the process of its growth and its expansion and all. So when you work alone, it's not that it's impossible, you can, but then you need people. Because after you, if you've not passed on any message to anybody else, they won't know where you were headed, they wouldn't know what you were trying to do, and then everybody else will come with their own plan after you. But if it is set out with an institution, trustee, and you receive the guide and you have structures and the frameworks of how, things can be managed and decisions will be made and all, then hopefully you would have a better chance of having that preserved over a longer period of time. And there are trusts that have been operational for decades upon decades, but they are not run by just the family. Even if it's a family trust, they have corporates helping them out. In terms of the costs, I feel it's almost like if I have 100% of an entity, and that entity generates 10 million naira, and as I age, I still own 100%. I may not be as strong to do certain things. So that means I might start to earn 9 million, 8 million, 7 million, because my ability to provide oversight on all of those things diminishes, managing the staff and all of those value chains and all of that becomes difficult. So it diminishes. So I like to look at it from the perspective that, okay, I own 100%, and that 100% gives me 10 million. Now, I don't want the situation where I fall ill and then the potential to lose 50% of that is now high. So I would take 10 or 15% of my 100, which might translate into maybe 1.5 million. And I say, okay, you know what? I'm going to give 1.5 million, for example, to others that will make sure that I have 8.5. And that 8.5, their responsibility is to make sure that it even becomes more than 8.5. And that allows me to step back and relax. So I'm paying for a service that's supposed to help my wealth grow without my involvement. Or even if my involvement is there, it's going to be minimal. So I think that's the unique difference between going it alone or going it with institutions that help. Don't get me wrong. Families can set up their trust themselves. If they do the work, they do the research and all of that, they can make it happen. Help is always useful. They can always subscribe to the services of wealth advisors or wealth managers or trustees to help them do it. And there are quite a number of trustees and wealth management outfits out there now.
Very, very insightful. A lot of individuals want to be wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
But there's this perception that only if you came from generational wealth would it be easy for you. And if you ask, they start giving you all the examples. They'll say, Dangote, his grandfather was Dan Chacha. If you look at Elon Musk, his father had this. If you look at, and they give you those scenarios that everybody who is wealthy today, their parents and their grandparents were wealthy. So my response usually is, there was somebody that started. So they say the economy is harder now. Is it possible that an individual in today's time in Nigeria starts his own legacy of building generational wealth?
The only answer I have is yes. And why I would say yes is because Nigeria is a gold mine. Anything you touch, it's like we've not scratched the surface of it. Any service area, any product you touch on, we've not scratched the surface. So it is extremely possible for anybody from anywhere to start growing, become rich, and become wealthy. It is absolutely possible. Absolutely. You don't even have to have a rich background. But if you have focus, if you have the right disciplines, and you increase your knowledge and awareness, and you're not lazy, The answer is yes, you can do it. It's just making sure that as best as possible, you're able to solve problems. And the moment you have a solution, you are solving problems, then you have a market to yourself. What a lot of us suffer from as Nigerians or as businesses in Nigeria is scalability. So I'm already receiving good feedback or good patronage from the market. How do I become larger? How do I expand? And that's where really it becomes a bit more technical, because you now need other people. It's easier doing it yourself, but then when you start involving other people, you need a brand new set of competencies.
Yeah.
And that's why continuous learning is important in what we do. So we continuously learn so that we have new skills that would allow us to manage new problems and allow us to solve them and get better at it. Nigeria is the place to be. You would see that a lot of countries around the world have their eyes focused on Africa. Food is a problem around the world. We have land available everywhere. Granted, there are challenges associated with maybe government policies and all of that. But those who have right now don't have a different world that they're in. They're still in the same Nigeria. They're still faced with the same problems that we think they're not faced with. The inflation is affecting them too. It's affecting their business the same way it's affecting us. Yes, you may say they have leverage, but at the same time, it doesn't stop us from equally securing the type of leverage that we can get access to. So it's a mindset thing. If you have the right mindset, you can build wealth. First, identify that problem. Come up with a solution that people will be willing to pay for, and then scale it. And then don't be greedy. You know you can't do everything yourself. Who are those collaborators or partners you can bring on board to help build that empire? And once you have that, how do you now expand it so that it grows? I would like to indicate, I know we've been speaking very generally, but I like to highlight the fact that I think wealth and riches, there's a spiritual component, there's a spiritual element to it. And for those who belong to any of the Abrahamic faiths are aware of these things. There's how, when you give, even when you don't have, when you give, you get more. When you give, you get. If you have and you don't give, you won't get any more. So it's a blending affair where there is the concept of tithe, and when you give, you get blessed even more. And we may not understand how that works, but it does. And when we help those who are in need, we get more. And helping them in need doesn't mean financial. You could help somebody in need, and it's an intellectual process. You're sharing knowledge, you're making them better, you're doing voluntary give back. One thing that you would know and associate with anybody who is considered to be wealthy right now is that a lot of them have NGOs.
Yes.
They have platforms that they do CSR, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Dangote Foundation. They're all out there, and they give. And when they give, what happens? Saliently, people pray for you. Whether you know it or not, they'll pray. They'll say their little prayer for you. And a man that is in need and you've helped him out and he prays for you, there's a very strong possibility that God would answer that prayer. And then, you get those benefits that come with it. So there's both the normal, everyday academic approach to wealth building, wealth growing, wealth generation. Then there's the spiritual side to it, which now has to do with, giving back to society. And I think that is something that we all need to take into consideration. But Nigeria is the place to be. Yes, you require a thick skin, you require tenacity, you need to be able to solve problems, and then you need to have, the right circle of people. Right circle of people means right-minded. They don't have to be influential, all of that. You just have to have the right set of people around you that are go-getting, that are determined, and then you can work together to get results. You don't have to have, descended from wealth before you create it. Like you said, it started from someone. And as long as it starts from someone, who says that person is not you? Why can't you be the one that kills poverty in your in your family, in your family lineage. You can be the one. I would like to, eliminate poverty in my own family lineage. I want to do away with it. And doing away with it and sustaining it now requires what you had mentioned earlier. At what point do you now involve family to say, okay, these are the things that we need to do together and see how we can grow and all of that. So there's a whole lot that goes into, wealth building and wealth preservation and family wealth as a whole. But it's possible. And I believe it's something that can be done by anyone. You just need to believe that you can do it. But if you have a negative mindset that, I'm already disadvantaged, the only thing you will see is disadvantage. But if you have a positive mindset, if you have a positive outlook, you will see that positive energy and it will draw towards you and you bring positive people towards yourself and you'll make it happen. It may take more time, but it will happen.
True.
Yeah. So I think that's the bit I have to say.
That's not a bit, that's the whole pie. So there's something you mentioned in your explanation. You spoke about not being greedy and bringing in people to build that empire with you. I have engaged with a lot of small businesses during my time in consultancy, and at some point in time, their businesses sounded so great. And I will tell them that, okay, look, you're building something great, you're already running in the millions. I, or some of my partners, we think that we can do better if we come into the business, put in funding, based on our experience, give you solutions to help you scale. But this individual will be like, okay, the concept of, okay, a 20% equity or a 30% equity in that small business you're building makes them feel like, no, I don't want to share anything with these guys. I think I'll just continue. I rather own it and just continue. Do you think that if we look at the people who have built successful businesses that has made them wealthy today, are there individuals that have been able to do it all on their own? Nobody has joined them to finance. Nobody has joined them in terms of intellectual knowledge or network to leverage on, that they just do it on their own and they reach the top easily?
So the word would be no. I don't think anybody would have been able to do it alone easily. No, it would be very challenging to do that. At the same time, in terms of we must accept that taking decisions of partnership and bringing people into something that you've sweated over the years to do is not an easy decision for anybody. And I believe that anybody who is wealthy today with a business that has partners and all must have gone through that difficult decision of saying, yes, I accept to have partners. It's not an easy decision to make for anybody who's an entrepreneur and maybe is the idea person behind it. It's always challenging. What can help is knowledge and awareness. So as people increase their knowledge and their understanding about business and how to run business and go through certain types of challenges in their business, then they come to a level sometimes where they now accept the fact that they need other people. In fact, some even go and start looking for partners and all. And I think sometimes with those who are, whether you call them private equity players or venture capital people or individuals who are like angel investors, sometimes it's the delivery and it's the how it is delivered to the individual. And how the person an angel investor or a venture capital firm or private equity firm sometimes would be able to see years ahead of where a particular business or entrepreneur is in their maturity life cycle, in the life cycle of their business. But that person can't see what they're seeing. So in that respect, it requires a bit more of hand holding. And if it's too early in time to make such a presentation or a request, then it will be declined. And there's some ways that such models can be achieved. It's just that it has to be a balancing act. So if I'm meeting an entrepreneur and he has his business, I say, okay, you know what? I want to open up in so area. Can we have a special purpose vehicle So you still keep yours 100%. Then we have this and we own it 50-50. And then we're running and then we're seeing how things go. And hopefully, you'll be able to unbundle the benefits of having partners and relationships and all of that. I don't think anybody has done it alone. No nation stands just by one person. It's a group of people that make up a nation. So even in entities, even if you hire people, you still have people. So I think it's always important to be aware of approach. For every entrepreneur that is out there today, they're doing great jobs. And don't think it should just be easy that you would walk up to an entrepreneur and say, you know what, I have the money, I want 20% or 50% or 70% of your business. And you think best to just say, oh, thank God you've come and no. They've gone through a lot of sweat, blood, sleepless nights, crisis, all of that. And what they need to be sure about is that you're matching their energy. So it's not just about your money. It's more than money. It's they knowing that when they're not available, when they're sleeping, you can match the energy that you bring to the table and the business would actually succeed. So there's a lot that goes into it, especially when it comes from a business perspective and entrepreneurs as conversations, and how we can grow that as an avenue for wealth creation and wealth sustaining wealth. Any institution from a small, medium enterprise growing up the ladder to a big corporate goes through those stages. Changes of staff, changes of people, and then you have partners who know more than you and they can take you up another level. But it takes professional maturity to attain that first level, that you are willing to hire somebody smarter than you and take the seat by the side and then watch the person and say, okay, yes, let's keep on going. And the person actually helps you grow. So it takes professional maturity to be able to achieve.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's a lot sometimes again, some individuals feel like nobody can see the vision I see for my business. So even if you're coming in with money, you might just you're not coming in with the novelty that I come in with. And so it's really understandable when some people do not want to have partners, even though at a certain level of a stage of their business, there would be a need to have those partners on board. Next question. Passive and active investments. When it comes to building wealth, we have to invest. And when we talk about invest, whether I'm doing a business myself, whether I'm working a job, whatever I'm doing, it's somehow me investing in something to make a return. So how much role does active investment play? And then passive investment as well. Where do they both come in? Because somebody will tell you that it is impossible to build wealth passively, right? And somebody will tell you that no, you need passive investments as well as the active. So just getting that balance, active and passive investments, what are they and what are their rules?
So it's active and passive income. Active and passive income. And how it's generated is through the platforms that you use to get it. So I'm hired and I'm an employee. And at the end of the month, I receive a salary or a wage. And that is active income because I'm by myself, I'm doing it. If I take from within my salary and I hand it to a friend that is running another business, maybe he's selling chewing gums at the corner of my street, and he gives me, maybe I give him 100,000 naira or 50,000 naira. And at the end of every other month, he gives me 10,000 or he gives me 5,000 or 3,000 naira. That 3,000 is passive income because I'm not directly involved in that business relationship. So active income is anything that I do by myself that generates income for me. Passive is what I have used my money toward and I'm not engaged directly with it, but because I've invested my money there, I'm getting income from it, and it's contributing to how much liquidity or how much I have available to spend. Where we want to be is to have passive income, a large pool of passive income. That's where we want to be. That's your destination as somebody who is trying to grow wealth and all of that. You want to be in a position where you have passive income that does not require your direct involvement. How do you create it? It is through your active income. So you get the first active incomes, you're setting aside something, and I think people may be aware of, savings. Everybody talks about savings and what you do with your savings. And then when you move from savings, you start to invest. And then what you do with that investment. And when you speak about financial management or financial literacy, you talk about an emergency fund. And what is that emergency fund? You have a few months saved away just in case of anything happens. And then you now start investing. Then that investments that you do is the passive income. When you have that passive income, you need to have a budget. You need to be clear on how much you spend annually. And this is where the deliberateness in preserving wealth comes in. Because if I'm just rich, and I'm matching my lifestyle with how much I'm earning, then I'm consuming everything and I'm not preserving anything. So I'm just rich. I have a high level of income. I'm not thinking wealth. With wealth, I'm thinking long term, well after I can no longer be involved in active income. So I'm now relying and surviving on passive income. And a typical example would be the pension funds, where people contribute over the years, and after they retire, they're getting that. So that was passive. But in addition to that is where you're now having a secondary. So if you say the pension you're contributing towards is one bucket, the deliberate alternative passive income sources that you have is like a pension that you're creating, a secondary pension you're creating that will add to the other pension you're doing when you are no longer actively generating money or income, which will serve you when you need it. So I think those are the two different distinctions between the active income and passive income. If you want to substitute the word and say active investment versus passive investment, I think it's still relatable. Active investment will be, okay, I'm the one managing that investment. Passive investment would be, I've given it out, somebody else is doing it, so I don't have to worry. It may be that you would earn more in your active income, but you would earn less in your passive income because you have to share it with the person who is doing the work.
Yes.
So that's where you now get the advantage, because you're now able to achieve that revenue. There's a story I read about a taxi driver in New York City, and the driver was, he's a taxi cab, and he picked up a lady, and he was busy complaining about, he's having difficulties, the job is not paying that much and all. And she just asked him, if he had any contacts with the hotels and all, because he was taking the lady to the airport. So he said, yeah. Then she said, okay, go and meet any of the hotels, tell them that, drop your phone number, and tell them to call you anytime they have anybody that needs to go to the airport, that you would take them and you would give them 20% of whatever you make. And he started that by himself. And he moved from $50 to about $1,000 within a few weeks. And then the same lady, surprisingly, he picked her up again and said, okay, how far have you gone? And he was like, oh, you're so excited. This is what happened and all of that, And he said, okay. She now said, extend it further. So get your friends that have cabs and then share 20% of what they earn. So they would give 20% to the hotel. They would keep 60% and he would get 20%. Somebody would think, oh, but that's my own idea. Why should I allow them to keep more than me? But it's passive. He's not the one, it's not his vehicle, it's not his petrol. and he's able to service other people, and that's how he set up his own company. And he became wealthy because he had a sustainable way of generating passive income beyond what he could have done by himself as one individual.
If he took a break today, money will still come.
If he took a break while he's sleeping, money is still coming because he had already set up the structure and he wasn't greedy. He was working with others and everybody was happy because they had an opportunity to earn and live. So there are several opportunities out there. It's just kind of understanding the structure, the model on how to do it. I feel, wealth generation, having a mindset of wealth, it's a good mindset because it allows you to manage your current excesses and you think of long term. Very important. Some things that affect us as Nigerians, especially in the nature of our own culture, is that when breadwinners are lost in any family, it's always very trying and very difficult, especially when they're lost early in the life of the children. It can be very difficult. And I think for me, the opportunity for spouses, when you have somebody who is wealthy, for example, and he's no more, he or she is no more, and the spouse or siblings don't know how that person came about generating that wealth, chances that they'll be able to sustain it are slim or slimmer. If they're lucky, it'll happen. Otherwise, it won't. So I think people should be more deliberate. And I think with the internet and all right now, people are becoming that much more aware and more mindful. And those who have, because of how difficult it is to even make money, people that have it want to keep it. So those of you that have it, you are now able to leverage the tools and the people and the experts that know how to do it to support you in making sure it is sustained. So sometimes wealth preservation is more often than not about you. It's really about the people around you. The benefit is to the people around you. It's not really about you because you want to see that they're able to live comfortably even when you are no more and you're not there. So somebody who leaves an institution and says, "Oh, I want to educate, all the orphans out there." It's not about the individual. It's about the life of that orphan and making sure that person lives a productive life and they're a good, they're a responsible citizen of society. So I think these are the things about I can say right now about this last question.
Another question, hopefully the last one.
Okay.
An individual, people, or I'll say a lot of people who are in their journey of building wealth, either maybe active service or whatever, they are able to get reasonable amounts of money. And the first thing that comes to them is just buy land and keep it. So can we look at that as an avenue solely that would ensure this individual reaches a point of let's not even talk wealth, reaches a point that he is maybe super rich, right? By building, I'll call that probably wealth preservation, that he just buy assets like lands and just keep them. And
They don't actually generate passive income for him. They're just sitting until he has an emergency to sell it. So how does this individual differentiate, or how is this individual different from the people who have actually built wealth? What are they doing differently?
Okay, so for individuals, and I think maybe I'll refer to them as retirees, those who are just about retiring and maybe they receive a lump of money from their organizations as retirement allowance and all. Um, it's a trying time for them, and the reason why I'd say it's a trying time is because some are not always fortunate to have, through their careers, been involved in any other type of business. They've just been strictly that administrator and they've gone through their career path and all. So when they receive that bulk money, somebody who is used to just receiving salaries over the last 2 or 3 decades, all of a sudden has a bulk sum of money. The first thing that comes to mind is, how I don't want to lose this, and I don't know who to go to. The next thing is, I know that people buy land, and what is available in terms of information in the market. If you go around town today, I think you would count more real estate related boards or advertisements compared to any other type of service. So that's where the mind would naturally go toward. So them buying land, I wouldn't say it's a bad thing. I would just say that real estate is an asset class. And what fund and asset managers do for you when you're able to engage with them is that they help you um, uh, diversify your portfolio or your money into different asset classes in a way that you would have a portion of your money in an asset that appreciates over time. You'd have another portion of your money that uh, offers you liquidity in terms of cash when you need it. An example would be, say, fixed income like Sukuk, that every 6 months you're able to get a portion of a benefit from the investment that you have made. Then there are those whom would be investing in stock markets, which they'll be able to get some profit off of that. And some would invest in other businesses, agriculture and all. So I think importantly is to have a blend of investments that cut across different sectors or industries and offer you the different type of benefit. One is from capital appreciation, what would increase in value. Real estate is known for that after a number of years, this is what you could get from investing in real estate. Then there are the other types of investments that you need professionals to support you. And I think that's where a lot of people kind of differ. So I don't need anybody's help if I just want to buy land. I go over the internet, I see the land, and I just go and I buy it. This house, I like this house, I buy it. I pay for it and I keep it. I may not know anything about renting, so I just buy it and I keep it. Since maybe I don't even need it right now, let it just be there. I'm not thinking about whether or not this is the best type of investment and all, because I'm not wired that way. And then maybe when I need money 6 months down the line or 1 year down the line, I'm looking to sell that asset, but I have to discount it. And when I need the money, no buyer is coming. But if it has been diversified, when I needed the money, I have an option of an investment that is closer to cash that can give me the money that I need. And I don't have to discount my real estate asset and lose value from it. I can always get it from the other end. But in the other asset classes, you need advice from other people. And that's what a lot of people don't go for. So they receive that bulk money. They don't want anybody to know. I don't want my family to know. I don't want friends to know. It's just my money. Let me just buy these things and keep. And then when we think about it, we say, okay, it's for my children's sake. But then you forget yourself that you equally need medicals. You equally need to enjoy what you have labored for over all these years. And then your children are on their own journey trying to create their own as well. So I think there's that balancing act that is required. And the help of fund and asset managers would be very instrumental to anybody who's retiring or who is in that process of trying to, improve their well-being by growing their wealth or growing their riches. I think fund and asset managers can do that very, very well.
Okay. As executive director of 117 Capital, you've told us a lot and we've digested a lot. To what extent can 117 Capital help us, the viewers, myself, and every other person in this journey of creating wealth, advising on portfolios, and all of this. Basically, our destination point, which is to reach a point where we're successful. How can 117 help us in this journey?
So 117 Capital, licensed by Security and Exchange Commission as a fund and asset manager, is set up to provide wealth management advisory, wealth management services, portfolio management services. And in this, we're able to speak to individuals, corporations as well, and help guide them on how to improve and enhance their well-being through increased financial comfort. And this would be through advice on how they should handle investments, whether it's local, through sukuks, or through stocks, or in real estate, or in agriculture. We have a strong team that has the knowledge that can provide this support. Even when it comes to wealth management and developing that system of family wealth, we have very good relationships with trustee outfits, which are also licensed by Security and Exchange Commission. So we can help in the advisory side of getting them to the position of setting up family trusts and provide them the portfolio management services that would help diversify their portfolio, help advise them on coming up with an annual budget that they use to spend. I ask this question to some people, do you know how much you spend in a year? And they look and they smile because they don't have the answer. And I tell people that like I ask my spouse, I say, give me this year's budget. What are we going to eat over the next 1 year, or over the next 3 months, or over the next 6 months? Let's have a budget. It's not being miserly. It's all about planning. Because if you understand what it is you need to spend, then you would understand what class of investments you need to have that can make money available to you when you need it. Because you know the children's school fees, you know what you need to eat, you know what you need to spend on petrol and all of those things. So 117 Capital is rightly suited to support everybody in this manner. And I think what is most interesting about it is that we do it from a non-interest perspective. So we have all the tools, and we make sure that all investments are Sharia compliant, they're halal in nature, and the advice that we're giving is principally that. We equally have the Sharia advisory component of things that we do. So even in terms of zakat as part of your wealth structure, because it involves a lot of things, zakat, tax, all of those things that you spend on, and then your revenues, it's a full basket. So we have a team of tax advisors as well that we work closely with to give people a full end-to-end solution for wealth management. So we're happy to have conversations with anyone or any institution that may need to look at things in the long term. Wealth management and wealth growth is always about the long term. It's not short term. It's not a 30-day, 90-day, 180-day thing. It's long term. And we can start from any position, with anyone, any position you're at, whether it's 10,000 naira or 50,000 naira you have, or it's up to 1 million or 10 million or 100, we're happy to have conversations with you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Abdullahi. It was a pleasure having this conversation. Thank you very much to the viewers. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram at 117 Podcast, on TikTok as well at 117 Podcast. Until we meet again, keep thinking beyond profits. Bye.